Mr. Jenkins, have we got everyone that should join us this evening? Is Tony joined us perhaps?
I do not see Tony.
Okay. Should we give him another minute or two, or what do you think?
Check with the clerk. It was my understanding that he had, was he going to be able to join us this evening? Olga?
I thought his last day with the board was December 15th, wasn't it?
Okay, I remember obviously that meeting. I wasn't sure if he was going to stay on the board until the replacement was in place or not.
I think he indicated that he would have moved by then and would disqualify him from serving, if I remember correctly.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started then. If he happens to join us, we can plan accordingly there. So I guess we've got everybody that needs to be on that's on tonight. And so this evening, I'll go ahead and open up the meeting and pull up the agenda. It's January 12th, 2021 at 6 p.m. This is a meeting of the Town of Stanley Planning Board. This is a continuation of our meeting back in December. So we'll go ahead and like to call the meeting to order. And this evening's agenda is to approve the minutes from our December 15th meeting, and then also revisit the rezoning of parcel 224745 by Mr. Olson and the application regarding that. As part of our agenda that the town clerk provided us for tonight's meeting, we did get the meeting minutes from December 15th. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review that. Not sure if there's any corrections that need to take place on that. I thought it was a good recollection of the meeting, and I didn't see anything that jumped out at me that needed to be changed. Any discussion on the meeting minutes from December 15th before we vote to approval? Okay. If not, can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 15th?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 15th.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. We've got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote again. Again, just going across my screen. Mrs. Davis.
Approve.
Thank you. Mrs. Navy. You're on mute, looks like.
Okay, I approve.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGinnis.
I approve.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barnes.
Approve.
Okay, and I approve as well. The motion is passed. The meeting minutes from December 15th are approved. Next on the agenda this evening is rezoning of parcel 224745. The applicant is Mr. Olson, who met with us back in December. This project is on Mariposa Road on the north side of Stanley. And the request before us is to rezone from M1, which is manufacturing, to R8 for the purpose of constructing single-family homes and townhome units. I think Mr. Olson is joining us tonight, obviously. We did receive from the town clerk additional information over the last several weeks, and I think even here recently as well, with some additional information that I know part or some on the board had requested. And before we get through or started with some of the conversation this evening, Just to check back with the town clerk again, have we had any other public comments sent in or communicated regarding this project?
No, we did not receive any.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Hopefully the board has had a chance to review the additional information and packets that we've received via email over the last few weeks. And I think there were some back in December as well. I know we probably all have a lot of questions or at least some individually. And certainly we'll open up the floor for that. I've just got one question maybe for Mr. Olson for clarification purposes in regards to the new site plan that you provided. We saw the reduction in the number of homes. And then as part of the site plan, you sort of talk about the individual lot size. And on there, you've got the square footage of the lot size, proposed lot size, and then the depth, but also the width of it. It looks like it could be, in this case, 60 feet, or at least some of the lots could be 60 feet in width. And where R8 is calling out for 70-foot lot width. So just wanted to confirm with you that at least some or a portion of those lots could be 60 feet in width.
Yes, correct. And thank you, Chairman Miller and board members. I hope everybody had a great holiday season, and thank you for the opportunity to get back in front of you. But that is correct. And I've got also Kyle Crow, the expert, our engineer. He's also online here also. So Kyle, would you please confirm that we're going with the—
Yes, Kent, that is correct. Yeah, we measured them all at 60 feet as measured at the front setback, or if they were on the inside of a curve, or sorry, outside of a curve, we measured them at 60-foot minimum width wherever the pad would be located. So some of them do have a wider than 60 foot at the front setback if the situation arises where the back property line is the limiting factor.
Thank you, Kyle. What we did, Mr. Miller, was took all of your comments from everybody in earnest and went back to work. And you saw the results of that work going when we sent that detailed information of the radius near us, close to us, there where our proposed neighborhood would be. And then we also took into consideration the newer neighborhoods coming online, while also taking into consideration your comments for your thoughts on the larger lots out there. And it just, at the end of the day, we feel strongly after, I hope everybody had a chance to see the email. We also wanted to be sure to address Mr. Barnes's well thought out comments. But our research found that we were an average comp, obviously older homes, of under 175,000 each, with their lot sizes near a quarter acre. It just makes it real tough to compete with the competing new neighborhoods coming into town, the True, the Meritage, et cetera, that are closer, more desirable, closer to I-85, combined with our comps. It just going to larger lots would be just a real tough, be tough sledding for trying to, from a marketing perspective, to trying to compete with those, real life known factors. But we did listen, we did adapt, we did take some lots out, and then of course sent elevations on homes from a couple of the builders that we're speaking with now.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that. I assume it would require a Board of Adjustments vote on that deviation from the R8 standard lot width, but that's for a later time. That was the one question that was at the top of my mind. Certainly open it up to other board members for questions or comments.
Hey, this is Philip. I would ask if, I guess maybe Olga, if there were more comments from citizens that if you could just help me refresh my memory, if there were any in support of this project. You may have already sent that.
Yeah, I did not receive any comments at all.
None. Okay.
No comments were submitted to the town hall.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so Chairman Miller, John, that's unusual compared to what we heard from the other two projects. As far as we heard a lot from citizens directly to town hall about the Meritage and the expansion of Arbordale. So that for me was a lot of the reason that we had so much to go back and forth on those other projects. So if anybody else has any questions, I'll think. I do want to give it due diligence, but without citizen feedback, I received one email directly that must not have gone through the town as well from a citizen just saying his concern was about just so much of the same type of housing so quickly. And I understand that. So it's a lot of growth really quick with those other two approvals for Arbordale under construction, and then the expansion at Arbordale, and then Meritage looking to come into town in the near future. But that was just sent directly to me. So other than just a general concern about the speed of growth, that's all that I heard. And I'll let anybody else chime in while I think about a more specific, better question if we didn't have any other citizen comment.
May I address that, Mr. McGinnis?
Sure thing.
I think that very rarely will you get a lot of folks come out and say, yes, we really want this, particularly when it comes to housing. We've been doing this since 1999, and our history is more that people's human instinct is to close the gate behind them. But in this particular case, I feel that, we're bringing some activity to a neglected side of town that might not have as much resistance. And in regards to how do people voice their approvals, I think that is spoken is loudly in the success of the other neighborhoods. So while we want diversity in all shapes and sizes in housing, and we're providing that here by bringing a townhome product and then bringing new product to this part of town that's been neglected that'll help support merchants downtown, that I think that the biggest way that people speak is with their pocketbook. And whether it's the price points, the location, those type of homes, I think they're speaking loudly when we wouldn't. I think you got my email in regards from the true information that they have a backlog.
Absolutely.
So I think that I think it's certainly important to have some diversity in how it looks. And I think that in this part of town, we'll certainly be bringing that, breathing some real fresh air into this side of town that I think will be a catalyst to raise home prices for everybody, support downtown merchants, and also be the catalyst to get more other developments coming that way that will be able to withstand a higher price point. To Mr. Miller's point, possibly larger lots as you get more out in a rural setting. I feel like we're on the cusp of that here. Mr. Miller knows it better than anybody. I think he grew up out, worked on that land itself. But based on the given knowns of the area here, knowing that we're going to be coming in the mid 200s and up. And I hope you guys had a chance to see, I was blown away by the true numbers are now hitting 400. And that's the market working. The market works. Every builder wants to sell a home for the absolute most that a market will bear. Same amount of work pretty much goes into building a $300,000 house as a $200,000 house. But the market finds its way. And as we've demonstrated with the true, when they're bumping 400,000, it's working.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I know that the concerns for impact to natural lands was another part of, especially the Meritage project. It was near the creek watershed. Anybody on the board know if there's been any concerns about there's a creek nearby, but not the same level of concern for this? Any board members know if that's been mentioned, like environmental impact?
I have not heard any comments regarding that.
You haven't? And
I'm glad you mentioned it though.
Yeah.
Because we're going out of our way
thing.
not to cross that creek. And I forgot about that. That's a very important point. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Mr. McGinnis. We're staying out of there. We're not crossing it. not just to put a white hat on and say we're just some great tree hugger. There's two reasons for that. Number one, in all honesty, is cost. It's expensive to cross water. But number two, it allows us to have a larger open space than is required. And Kyle can chime in and tell me where we're at on that, on our open space. But it gives us a lot more open space there by staying out of that creek. And as you'll notice by the site plan, we're staying out of it. Could have got a lot more townhomes in there by building an ugly old wall up there against the creek. And but no, we're going to stay out of there, keep the silt out of it, keep it a nice creek.
That is good to know.
Yeah, I think we might do, if we're fortunate enough to be approved, I think that we might, because we're going to want a walking trail or something through there to connect the neighborhoods. I'm really hopeful that the folks on the single family side, we want to make it so they can user-friendly walk over to the park.
Absolutely.
And so we do want to have them connected that way, but just not by tearing up the whole large swath by putting a bridge in or whatnot.
Thanks. So for looking to see if I have any other things I can pull up real quick that I wrote down.
Maybe, Philip, while you're doing that, we could give maybe some other board members a chance if they've got some questions or comments at this time.
Yes, I've spoken with several residents on the subject of too much development too fast. You know, we've got over 500 homes going in between Meritage and Arbordale, and I mean, if you're looking at 3 people per home, that's what, 1,500 new residents in a town that currently holds about 3,700 residents. So, and that alone, you're coming close to a 50% increase. If you add the new homes going in this development at 3 per person, you're going to be well over 50% more residents than we have at the present time, with no change in infrastructure as far as roads go. The residents I've talked to are very concerned with that. It's an issue. It's just it's a lot all of a sudden. It's a big influx when you're talking about existing roads. It's a lot.
Yeah, Mr. Barnes, if those individuals are reaching out to you, they probably, if they want to communicate in the proper way, they probably need to send communication to the town through the proper channels on that. But it's good that they're contacting you, but they also should reach out to the town in the proper way.
I've suggested that.
Okay, all right.
Can I ask what kind of development y'all had? I know we had the meltdown in 08 and 09. I was a poster child of that. But I'm guessing there was at least a 10-year, 15-year span where nothing went in. Would that be a fair assessment?
We did have some work done at different levels. I'm thinking of the Villas of Creek Walk, the continuation of a Creek Walk residential single-family home development. And then we've had some other projects going on as well, but obviously we weren't, it wasn't a growth area just like the rest of the country was experiencing during that period of time.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, was it Arbordale that was actually approved back then?
Yes, it was approved probably around 2007 timeframe, and they held off on that project until recently.
Anything on this side of town, on the north side of downtown, that I may not be aware of that's happened in the last 10 or 15 years?
No, this parcel that you're talking about, it has probably been zoned M1 for 30 years. And it's been looked at a number of times as residential in different aspects. over the years, but obviously it's vacant land and has been for a while.
Well, while we mention road infrastructure, I just wanted to remind everybody as well that we'd be making a pretty big contribution to the utility infrastructure with the proposed lift station and force main improvements as well as part of this project. So that would help with future capacity down that side of town as well.
Okay. Any other comments, questions from the board?
Yes, you sent in some potential elevations. I guess these are like just ideas of what you may want to put in there. Is that correct?
Well, no, Mr. Barnes, those are two builders that we're in serious negotiations with now. And I asked them to send me what they proposed, and that's what you have in front of you.
And that's proposed as vinyl.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. They would prefer vinyl, but one of the items I came prepared tonight for was to offer to do commit to all those being fiber cement construction. Substantially more expensive for the builder, but I'm not a big vinyl fan myself. Nothing against it. It works in a lot of circumstances. But I'm of the opinion, as I told the builders, I'm of the opinion that the market is hot enough now to withstand that price. If we were in a tougher market where it was really strapped by pricing, then I would be making the argument that it just is going to be a tough sell. But the market as hot as it is, I think can withstand the additional price increase, about $12,000 a unit of the fiber cement, and I'm willing to commit to that to y'all.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. On the potential site plan, the sketch plan, could you just reiterate the lot sizes again that you're planning and the side setbacks that you're expecting? I'm just a little confused. It doesn't look like there's any space to speak of between these homes. And I realize this is just a tiny drawing, but
Yeah,
I'm not really.
We're
really
proposing.
seeing that.
Gotcha. We're proposing 60-foot wide lots with a maximum width of a 40-foot pad. So that would be 10 feet on each side of the house between the pad and the property line. So there'd be a total of up to 20 feet between the two houses.
Minimum of 20 feet.
Minimum of 20 feet between the two houses.
So the lot size at 60 feet, the house would be 40?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And Kyle, that should put you, what was that total square footage of the lot, which should put you near the quarter acre that the adjoining neighborhoods average, as well as the new neighborhoods. But the adjoining neighborhoods are close to about a quarter acre.
Yeah, the minimum lot size we showed, smallest one was 7,200 square feet. A lot of them ended up being bigger than that as they were on curves and whatnot. So those rear property lines actually stretched out wider and had some extra depth on some of them as well.
Got it.
And then the homes that you had selected, you haven't really determined specifically a builder. You're just going to work from two builders?
Yeah,
Or
no, no, ma'am. We're still speaking with other builders. But,
okay, so that's not been determined yet as to who's going to build these homes.
That's correct.
Well, I guess my concern is how can we know what's going in there if we don't have a specific proposal?
Well, I don't think y'all want to be in the market of picking builders. I mean, that's a marketing thing. But I do respect your wanting to have an understanding of what's coming. And I think I think your board, the other board, Mr. Miller had mentioned that we need to get in front of again, but you have ordinance in place to dictate these things. And then we're making the further commitment to do hardy board. But as far as getting into, I don't think you're saying that. I know we run into this in other places, and I don't think you're saying this, Ms. Davis, but I don't think somebody would say, yeah, don't build this house, but I like this one, but build this house. Right?
Yeah, Mr. Olson and Ms. Davis, this evening, what we are voting on is simply to change the zoning of this parcel for residential development from M1 to R8. Realizing that we've gotten some details of the site plan as well as the individual proposed lot size. At this juncture, we're just voting on to change the zoning as a planning board, and then obviously it'll go to the city council. Mr. Jenkins, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I mean, that's a real simple equation what we're doing this evening.
Yes, sir, that's correct. I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
We find a lot of times in respect to the townhomes that it gives people that may have grown up in that one particular area, but might be empty nesters now and be a little bit tired of home maintenance and the yard work and all, but want to stay in the same area. We see a lot of times that townhomes give them that opportunity to do that. And so we're really excited about the townhome component. We just didn't think that it was appropriate on the other side of the creek. It would just be a lot of units. So we wanted to try to mirror what something would fit in harmoniously to the area there and hopefully be a catalyst to get that other side of town developed the way that y'all want to see it developed.
Mr. Chairman, I will say that is a new type of housing that we have not had constructed in the town. Definitely diversifies our housing from what we have now with the townhomes.
I don't want to take up too much time. I'll jump back in. So I did want to mention that Mr. Olson, with some citizens and even myself, I can see the benefits of slow growth. I understand what you mean about that side of town has had it's been a while since you've seen any kind of development happening. But we do hear from citizens about slow and intentional growth versus rapid sort of market-driven growth, because we want to build a community, which does sometimes kind of that buffers against the market forces, is the idea of like a long-lasting community. And so I think that's I completely agree with you about the benefits of development, but I also understand citizens who say sometimes more is not always better. And so what I like to do, I had a gentleman named Ed McMahon from the Urban Land Institute present to the city council, to the town council, about the value of uniqueness of place. And so, that's what we want to make sure, that there's an economic benefit to uniqueness of place. You do attract residents through uniqueness as well. And so Stanley has done a really good job of maintaining a unique character. And that's what people stand up to support. And I understand that fully. We want to make sure that we don't lose that, because it has an economic benefit as well. That uniqueness of our town is really important. So as a planning, we're not only looking to preserve the nature and the character of our town, we're also looking to benefit it economically, which is maybe something you don't see as often in the conversation. But I really want to introduce that, as I think that there's economic benefit as well to having intentional growth. So the reasons that I am inclined to support this project is that this piece of nature does not raise the same kind of environmental concerns as we heard with, especially with the Meritage project and the creek there. There were not citizen complaints to come through the town in the same way that we saw for Meritage or the Arbordale development discussions. And I did want to add a caveat there that maybe the citizens did not feel heard, because I know that the town council voted pretty quickly. And, you know, as a group, I would like to see us really make sure that citizens are participating, because they did participate previously and it's very quiet this time. And that may be because they didn't feel heard in the discussions on the vote the last time from the town council discussions. So we want to make sure we tell citizens they need to submit that through the proper channels. And we all need to work to make sure that their voices are heard, because if they're just telling us on the side, but not sending it into the town, that's not good. That's putting a lot of pressure on us outside of the channels. So those channels need to operate and function. And maybe they didn't function also well during the approval of the Meritage development. So something to think about. But it didn't come through the proper channels. So that gives me less reason to vote against this being approved. Mariposa Road and the stoplight there at the intersection with 27 does not seem to be overcrowded. I don't live on that side of town, so I don't see it at peak hours. But when I do drive by there, I haven't seen an enormous amount of, you know, dangerous traffic turning onto 27 from that area. It seems that the road could handle an increase in density. I know people don't like any increase in unsafe conditions, but I don't think it would make it unsafe based on what I've seen. But that's just my observations. I'm not scientifically sure of that, just from me observing it by being in the area. And then I agree that townhomes are a good product to offer, and especially like you mentioned with low maintenance, that's something that is of interest to people that would like to be around but don't want to maintain the yard, or they would like to be able to call someone if they need home repairs and things like that. As far as that are it's a different circumstance than owning your own unit, separated individually. And so I would just say that I'm inclined to, even though I understand all the citizen feedback, I think that Mr. Olson has been very interested in working with us. I like the idea of the cement board siding. I think that's a great step. I think that does help differentiate the product of the single family housing. I love the idea of the walking trail. I don't know that you can commit to anything like that, but I think that's great to bring more access to the park there. Yeah, so I believe that, you know, I know this is the official vote, but especially with no citizen comments officially registered, I would say that I would vote to say that it's a project that I would approve.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay. Mr. Jenkins, any other comments or information to share this time?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's not any additional comments or questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve this project. And again, what we're voting on this evening, let me pull up the agenda. This is the rezoning of parcel 224-745. This property is on Mariposa Road. It's between Mariposa and Black Snake. The request is to rezone it from M1 to R8 for the purpose of constructing single family and townhome units. So the motion is to rezone this parcel from M1 to R8.
I'll second that motion. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't make the motion. I was just reading
sorry.
out what we were voting on. So we'll need a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. McGinnis made the motion. We'll need a second.
I will second it.
Okay, Mrs. Navy has second. Any further discussion before we take the vote? Okay, I'm just going to go across my screen here as it's displayed. Mr. Barnes.
I would vote to disapprove.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Davis.
I disapprove.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Navy.
I approve.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGinnis.
I approve.
Okay, thank you. And I disapprove. Appears that the motion is not passed based off the vote this evening. So Mr. Olson, we appreciate your interest in Stanley. There's obviously some further steps to go with this, and appreciate your time and certainly the additional information that you've passed along to us over the last several weeks. Mr. Jenkins, anything else to discuss before we adjourn this evening?
No, sir. Other than this matter will be taken up by the city council at their next meeting.
Yep. And for those on the board that have had citizens communicate to them in any form or fashion, positive or negative, please encourage those folks to go through the proper channels. This would probably be displayed on the town website in the news section, probably as a public hearing as part of the city council and all of that. So please encourage them to go through the proper channels. Any other discussion or comments before we adjourn this evening?
No, thank everybody for their time. Thank you.
Thank you. If not, can I have a motion to adjourn for the evening?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis. With that, we'll go ahead and take a vote to adjourn. Mrs. Davis.
I approve.
Thank you. Mrs. Navy.
I approve.
Thank you. Mr. McGinnis.
I approve.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes.
Approve.
Thank you. And I approve as well. With that, the meeting is adjourned, and thanks everyone for their participation this evening. And I don't think we've got anything else on the agenda coming up real soon, do we? Don't think
Not
so.
for you.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, thanks again for everybody's participation this evening.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. Thank
Everyone have a
you.
good night. Thanks.
Thanks.